Picture this. You're standing in a massive warehouse, humming in near silence. There are no human footsteps, no one shouting over heavy machinery, literally just the quiet whir of algorithms perfectly choreographing thousands of robotic arms and conveyor belts. For a long time, this was supposed to be the ultimate silver bullet for modern businesses, right? I mean, we all pictured this cinematic future where robots gracefully replace manual labor, AI flawlessly optimizes fulfillment, and machines handle millions of orders with absolute precision. But reality, as it usually does, had a much more complicated script in mind. So in this explainer, we're going to completely unpack the cinematic rise, fall, and reinvention of warehouse automation using the crucial operational lessons learned by deeply human-centric companies like Zappos. We really have to start by looking at that utopian promise of robotics and AI, and we need to ask a genuinely tough question. What happens when this cutting-edge technology actually creates complexity instead of eliminating it? It's such a fascinating paradox. Over the past 10 years or so, organizations have literally poured billions of dollars into automated fulfillment centers. They genuinely believed they were building the frictionless, totally hands-off future of retail. But today, we're going to dig into exactly why that assumption was deeply flawed and explore what is arguably one of the most expensive lessons modern businesses are still learning the hard way. To understand how we even got here, we have to talk about the immense pressure cooker that forced this massive shift in the first place. Over the last 2 decades, consumer expectations have just completely transformed. Think about it. The narrative went from being totally fine with a package arriving in, say, 7 to 10 business days to the chaotic, high-stakes reality of expecting it tomorrow, or, even this afternoon. We all started demanding real-time GPS tracking, infinitely larger product selections, and aggressively lower prices. And to meet these relentless, almost impossible demands, e-commerce giants and rapid growth companies like Zappos naturally turned to automation. They needed a way to aggressively scale up when sheer manual human effort just couldn't keep pace with a click of the buy button anymore. Which brings us to our first major pivot, the complexity trap. There is a massive misconception floating around the industry right now. It's this completely false belief that just pouring capital into robotics automatically deletes your operational problems. Honestly, it's incredibly tempting for an executive team to think, hey, once we install this $50 million automated sorting system, our fulfillment headaches are just going to magically disappear. But technology alone absolutely does not guarantee operational success. The hard truth? Automation doesn't magically eliminate your operational problems. It actually just shifts them into entirely new, completely unfamiliar, and honestly, infinitely more complicated areas. What actually happens is automation shifts your business into a highly fragile state called operational interdependence. Picture a massive million-square-foot facility. You've got tens of thousands of customer orders relying on miles of conveyors, optical barcode scanners, intricate routing software, and AI inventory managers. And they all have to work in perfect, unbroken harmony. It's beautiful when it works, but because these systems are entirely reliant on one another, if a single barcode scanner gets a little dusty and goes offline, or if one minor software update misfires, the entire massive operation slows to an agonizing crawl, or it just stops entirely. It's a literal house of cards, and the domino effect is absolute. Imagine being a warehouse manager in this environment. Suddenly, your job description is completely rewritten overnight. Instead of just managing human shifts, coaching teams, and directing manual workflows, which, don't get me wrong, is tough but inherently flexible, you're suddenly thrust into a massive interconnected web of cyber-physical operations. Managers had to rapidly become pseudo-engineers. Overnight, they're responsible for tracking software system reliability, complex hardware coordination, data integration across servers, and predictive maintenance. It was just a massive leap in technical complexity that a lot of companies and their leadership teams, frankly, weren't prepared to handle. And that leads us directly into the messy, unpredictable reality of it all. Here's the thing. Machines are absolutely brilliant at handling perfectly repetitive tasks, but they get completely derailed by the constant, messy chaos of the physical world. Take a massive automated routing system, for example. It is incredibly efficient at moving a perfectly square, unblemished box from point A to point B. But what happens when that box gets crushed in transit? Or what if a supplier suddenly changes their packaging material and the robotic section cups just can't grip it anymore? Or an unexpected software mismatch mislabels 1,000 pairs of shoes? Rigid machines really struggle to adapt to these daily chaotic anomalies. They get confused, they freeze up, and that interdependent system we just talked about, it jams completely. And here's where we hit this beautiful, almost cinematic irony.
E-commerce giants spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to reduce staffing, only to quickly realize that human intervention is still absolutely critical for the survival of the warehouse. Automation radically changes the nature of human work. It absolutely doesn't eliminate it. When organizations cut their workforce way too deeply, they essentially deleted their only safety net. They realized they desperately needed humans for quality control, for rapid troubleshooting, and honestly, just for fixing the robots when they inevitably encountered something slightly outside their programming. Humans, with our unique ability to improvise on the fly, remain the ultimate operational resilience mechanism.
So, now organizations are facing a massive strategic dilemma. Companies basically have to weigh two profoundly different operational philosophies. On one hand, you have the unparalleled speed and sheer efficiency of automated systems. But remember, that speed only exists when the environment is perfectly stable. And let's be real, modern retail is never perfectly stable. Trying to reconfigure a massive automated layout for a new product line or a sudden trend is a deeply expensive, time-consuming nightmare. But on the other hand, you have the maximum flexibility and adaptability of human teams. A dedicated team of humans can pivot their entire workflow in a matter of minutes to handle a sudden seasonal spike or an unexpected viral product demand. It's efficiency versus adaptability.
And making the wrong choice here leads to a really dangerous fallout: concentration risk.
This introduces a terrifying reality for any business. Imagine being an operations director on Black Friday, and you're staring at a dashboard that just turned completely red. If a human worker makes a mistake, it's usually isolated, right? Maybe one single order gets delayed. But centralized automated systems concentrate all of that risk into a single point of failure. A single software glitch instantly halts routing, scanning, packing, and shipping across the entire building. Thousands of orders are suddenly backing up by the minute. And because customers expect hyper-fast delivery, those widespread delays instantly bleed out into the public eye. It can severely damage brand trust in a matter of hours. And we can't ignore the human cost here. This is exactly where the lessons from companies like Zappos come into play. They're famous for their deeply rooted, vibrant, highly autonomous employee culture. When you suddenly roll cold, unfeeling robots onto the floor of a highly passionate workspace, especially without deeply intentional communication, the cultural shockwave is severe. Obviously, the immediate fear is job displacement. But beyond that, employees are suddenly facing increased digital monitoring, heavily reduced operational autonomy, and the constant stressful hum of algorithmic performance tracking. For a culture built entirely on human connection, that kind of sudden rigidity just destroys morale. And if engagement drops, the entire operational system, which, remember, still relies on those humans to function, begins to fracture. Okay, so how do businesses actually resolve this? Let's walk through 5 strategic lessons. To survive this complex shift, businesses absolutely have to view digital transformation as a human transformation first. So here is the vital blueprint. First, you have to optimize processes manually before you automate them. Putting a $1 million robot on top of a broken workflow just gives you a really fast broken workflow. Second, build systems to handle disruption. You have to prioritize resilience over perfect world efficiency. Third, integrate it. And finally, always remember, if your shiny new automation reduces reliability and frustrates the end consumer, your internal efficiency gains mean absolutely nothing. At the end of the day, as businesses continue pouring billions into AI and robotics, we really have to recognize that the ultimate competitive advantage isn't found in replacing humans entirely. It's actually found in building beautifully, intelligently coordinated systems where cutting-edge technology and adaptable human teams work harmoniously together. Automation isn't magic, guys. It's simply a tool, and its success depends entirely on the people who manage, maintain, and adapt it. The organizations that will dominate the next era of commerce won't necessarily be the ones with the most robots. They'll be the ones that truly master this intricate dance between man and machine. So I'll leave you with a final thought to ponder for your own operations. Is your future simply automated, or is it intelligently coordinated?